Fort Myers versus Cape Coral, which one's better? Depending on your lifestyle, one may be better than the other, even though they are both right next to each other and people don't actually realize that they are very different cities until they actually get here, and it's a little bit too late. So today we're going to be talking about just the differences between cities, school zones. We're going to be talking about home values, water assessments, which one is better if you are maybe a boater, right? And like golf access homes. And so let's break it down, no BS. My name is Brian Storms and I'm a realtor here in Southwest Florida. We have helped many people relocate here from northern states, and last year alone we were able to help 21 different families. And so with that said, I am a local here. My wife and I and kids all live here. I've lived here for more than 20 years, so some of this perspective that you're going to be seeing is from somebody that actually lives it on a day-to-day. And so Fort Myers versus Cape Coral, let's break it down. This is where actually things start to matter. Cape Coral and Fort Myers, they have a bridge in between them, and so locals know how much traffic can be on that bridge, especially if there is some kind of accident in it. If you are somebody that's going to be doing a lot of day-to-day life in Fort Myers, if you're going to be going to the airport a lot or to the hospital, or maybe just work in Fort Myers, just know and account that there will be traffic on that bridge, especially on peak hours. So day-to-day convenience leans towards Fort Myers, which is more central. So let's talk about school and family life. This is something actually that families, when they move here, they're constantly asking about, right? Like, what is a good school zone for, for my kids, right? For their kids. And so I will say both school zones they're both good. Fort Myers is and does seem to be a bit more established. And so with that said though, one thing to keep in mind is that private schools, you will see a lot of the more private established schools within Fort Myers, with your Evangelical Christian School, also Bishop Rowe, Canterbury, which are, again, private schools that have been there for a very long time. Now, one thing for families to keep in mind is this area is very car dependent. And so while Cape Coral does attract newer families, just having to do with getting more house for the money. Again, the area is very car dependent, and so the closer you are to things, the better it's going to be on your day-to-day drive. Now, when it comes to home values, Cape Coral usually wins. And so in Cape Coral, as mentioned, you do get more house for your money. You can get more square footage, newer, even a pool home, relatively on the cheap side, right? In that $400,000, high $300,000 range. In Fort Myers, you will see more established communities. So you will see a lot more greenery. The trees are grown, right, and more mature. But those houses will be on the older side for those same price ranges, right? If you're looking at the $400,000, $500,000 range. In Fort Myers, something else to know is that you do get a lot of HOAs here, right? So homeowner associations. So I can think of your Verdana Villages, your Timber Creek as well, in which, again, it's a lot of these master plan communities that have resort style feels. In Cape Coral, you don't have as much of that. More of the homes that you'll see there are going to be houses on a lot. If you're a boater, Cape Coral is actually going to be very attractive to you. There are a lot of homes in a canal. Now, it is worth mentioning that not every canal is the same. So you do have saltwater canals, you have fresh canals, you have just, canals that are just, a lake view, right? But if you are really into boating and maybe golf access, you will see a lot of homes that have that in Cape Coral predominantly. You do see some in Fort Myers, but in Fort Myers, they tend to be either older or more expensive. In Cape Coral, you can get golf access homes that are within 30 minutes of the Gulf or open water for a lot cheaper price than in Fort Myers. Now, let's do a quick reality check, because a lot of people think Cape Coral automatically means beach just because it's in Florida. That is not the case whatsoever. And in Fort Myers, also, it doesn't mean that every area in Fort Myers has a beach view either. There are different areas within Cape Coral and Fort Myers. And so if being close to the beach is important to you, I would say let's sit down and talk and figure out what are some of those areas that are closer to the beach that you're looking for. There are certain areas here in Fort Myers that are even 45 minutes away from the beach. And so if you're somebody from the north coming down here, those are areas that probably are not going to be appealing to you. When it comes to restaurants, Fort Myers does tend to be more of the winner here. We do have lots of established restaurants here, especially across downtown Fort Myers, which it does have also a river walk in there with restaurants that look to the river in there. And so there's definitely a lot of those here in Fort Myers. In Cape Coral, you do have some, but I would say it's still growing. There are several developments that are happening. Now, within Cape Coral, something to keep in mind is that if you're more towards the north of Cape Coral, you will see businesses are still growing there. Now, towards downtown Cape Coral, which is more to the south, that's where you will see more of the restaurants that you'll see available within Cape Coral area. When it comes to water assessments in Cape Coral, that is something that you need to be aware of. You don't have this issue in Fort Myers. Everything in Fort Myers is city water. Now, Cape Coral is having this transformation to make all of Cape Coral have city water. For the time being, there are several areas in the north of Cape Coral that still have well water. It's important to note, if you buy something that is in the north of Cape Coral that has well water, at some point in the next few years, the city of Cape Coral will knock on your door and say, hey, we are going to be putting city water here. And that comes with a price. And so that usually, as of right now, is about $30,000 that you can either pay all at once or finance and add as part of, again, your taxes, water assessments, and so on. And then flooding as well, right? So we do have flood zones here in Southwest Florida. It really just depends on the home and the location. If we're talking about Fort Myers, anything or most homes that are west of US 41 that are closer to the beach will be in a flood zone. In Cape Coral, it really just depends on the home, right? Also something to know, if any home has been built post 2021 or is on the newer side, a lot of those homes have been elevated. And so with that elevation, you can actually have an elevation certificate that you can send to the state, and then that way you don't have to pay flood insurance. So if your home is in a flood zone, again, that's huge to know, because if you're financing, you will have to get flood insurance, which makes your monthly costs higher. Who should pick what? So for Cape Coral, this is going to be better for people that maybe want newer homes, more square feet for the price. If you are into boating and would like golf access homes, if you'd like more of a suburban, not as commercialized area, Cape Coral would definitely be the winner. Now, Fort Myers will be a winner if you're somebody that values shorter drives, more of a centralized location with lots of restaurants and things to do. Also, maybe more established neighborhoods. If you don't like that cookie cutter home feel of things in Fort Myers, you do also have homes that have acreage as well, in which that's something that Cape Coral doesn't really have. So in those cases, Fort Myers will be a clear winner on that. Let's go in another direction and go from the negative. So who shouldn't pick Cape Coral? If you're somebody that doesn't want to be driving a lot, right? You like to be close to things, you like walkability, Cape Coral is not for you. Now, Fort Myers may frustrate you or it may not be for you if you're looking for maybe the newer golf access homes, or even just more house for your buck, higher square foot, you know, it being newer and price lower. Fort Myers would not be the place for you. At the end of the day, it's not that one area is better than the other. It really just depends on your lifestyle. And so the biggest mistake people make is choosing a house and it not being in line with the way that they live. If you're moving to Southwest Florida, just reach out to us, call, text, email, any of those work. And if you like some of these comparisons, I have plenty more coming.